Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking one of the absolute most fascinating and frankly frustrating booking cases in professional wrestling right now. I'll be wearing two hats for this one. First, as a lifelong fan, I am genuinely mourning some seriously lost momentum here. But second, I've got to put on my industry insider hat to look at the raw clinical mechanics of wrestling promotion. We are talking about the devaluation of LA Knight. So let's just dive right into this, because it's literally the perfect case study in how momentum works and how it completely vanishes.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll hit his organic rise, the cost of inconsistent TV, shifts in presentation, match psychology, the fan disconnect, and finally, how to restore a true contender. So here's the core mystery we really need to solve. How on earth did one of the absolute hottest, most organically popular stars in the entire industry end up feeling so directionless? Look, it's not because he lacks popularity or charisma. And the audience? We definitely haven't stopped caring. So what exactly went wrong to trap a guy who literally felt like a guaranteed lock-it-in future world champion into this endless, spinning his wheels cycle of mid-card programs?
Well, to understand the fall, we really have to look at the peak. Let's start with part one, the organic rise, a true fan-chosen phenomenon.
If you were watching during this run, you felt it, right? It was electric. Long before the company even thought about officially pushing him, the crowds were already reacting. His catchphrases, that deafening "yeah," were exploding every single night. Merchandise was flying off the shelves. Every appearance he made felt like a massive deal. And him main eventing didn't just feel possible, it felt completely inevitable. The absolute biggest takeaway here, this wasn't manufactured. TV promos didn't force this down our throats. The fans chose him. And in modern wrestling, that kind of organic popularity is literally the most valuable asset a promotion can have. It's lightning in a bottle.
So, when you have an asset that unbelievably valuable, how do you completely lose the thread? That brings us to Section 2, the cost of inconsistent television.
Let's just trace his booking pattern for a second, because the structural decisions here tell the whole story. The cycle usually goes something like this. Week 1, he makes a brief return, cuts a killer promo, maybe gets into a short feud. Awesome, right? But then, fast forward about 7 weeks, and he just mysteriously disappears from meaningful in-ring competition. Poof, gone. Then, jump ahead to week 14, and it's a total restart. He comes back, but it feels like the character was just paused on a DVR rather than actually evolving. Management seems to view him as this special attraction, like, hey, he's so popular, we don't need to show him every week. But in practice, that start-and-stop booking is absolutely killing his narrative momentum. Wrestling requires consistency. As fans, we need to see our guys weekly, we need to see them win and progress. Treating him like he's in a holding pattern just shatters that emotional investment.
But listen, it isn't just about how often he's on our screens, it's about how he's presented when he actually is there. Let's get into Section 3, shifts in backstage presentation and losing that cool factor.
This is where I really got to put on my industry insider hat, because backstage character perception is everything. Historically, LA Knight's entire appeal came from this supreme, completely unbothered confidence. He stood tall, he controlled the conversations, and he made the story chase him. The coolest stars in wrestling, they don't chase the story. But recently, we're seeing a really different, highly reactive presentation. Have you noticed it? The slumped shoulders, the kind of chaotic, flustered energy in his recent segments. He suddenly seems frustrated and secondary to whoever else is in the room. When you take a guy whose whole gimmick is built on unshakable swagger and you make him reactive and whiny, you strip away the exact thing that made him cool in the first place.
All right, let's step through the ropes and evaluate the physical performance side of things in Section 4, match psychology and occasional errors.
Look, I'm watching this like a veteran scout, and like any experienced performer, Knight has had a few occasional timing mistakes. Literally every wrestler does. But the crucial piece of the puzzle here is the backstage reaction to it. Historically, wrestling management gets incredibly cautious when visible errors happen on TV. When agents start viewing these minor slip-ups as reasons to limit future opportunities, rather than just, isolated incidents, you get hesitation. Now, obviously, we can't confirm the exact backstage mindset right now, but the perceived result is totally clear. There's a serious hesitation to fully commit to pushing him. When you combine that stalling momentum with a few in-ring errors, fan speculation goes wild. It creates this overarching perception of a star who's just treading water.
And that perception leads directly into our next topic, the fan support disconnect. Because as loyal fans, we see exactly what's happening. And man, it takes a toll.
I mean, think back. Just a really short time ago, there was literally only one question we were asking. When does he win the championship? The potential was completely proven. We, the audience, validated him with deafening reactions every single night. We all honestly thought we were strapped in for a straight-up rocket ride right to the top of the card.
But look at how drastically our mindset has shifted today. Now, the main question is, wait, what exactly is his direction? It's a massive drop-off, and it brilliantly illustrates the damage done by short-term feuds and all those frequent absences we talked about. Fans aren't frustrated because they suddenly dislike LA Knight. Not at all. We're frustrated because we know exactly how effective he can be. We've already seen him feel like the absolute most important act on the show, so watching him stall out is incredibly confusing and honestly kind of heartbreaking for the audience that organically built him up in the very first place.
So how do we actually fix this? How do we bridge this massive momentum gap? Let's move to our final section, restoring a top contender. Okay, here is the blueprint to revive his main event trajectory. Step 1. Establish a consistent narrative. You've got to end the stop-start booking immediately. Keep him actively progressing on television every single week. Step 2. Restore that backstage confidence. Stop making him reactive. Let the story chase him again, so he can reclaim that unbothered cool factor we loved. And step 3. Define a clear path to contention. Look, LA Knight doesn't necessarily need to win a world title tomorrow. What he needs is a vision. A definitive creative direction that reminds all of us exactly why we invested our hearts and our wallets into him to begin with. Because let me tell you, that charisma, that organic crowd connection, it is absolutely still there, just waiting to be tapped into.
Which leaves us with this final, lingering thought. The question isn't whether LA Knight has the tools to become a top star. He absolutely does. The real question is, will the booking finally allow him to be one? It's a truly fascinating look into how modern wrestling business decisions can either nurture or completely neutralize organic fan support. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope this gave you a bit of structured clarity on a really complex booking situation.